lizards. Ooh, you already know what it is. Today I'm showing you how to make basses like Artix, how to make a drop like Artix. We are getting down. We're remaking the Do It by Artix. We just have to go in for the win. We are going to have multiple different basses here that we're going to go over. A little bit of this build up here to add energy. And then one of the main patches, which is this one, we're going to break down. I'll just show you how we use all this. If you guys do want this full project, it'll be on my Patreon, so you guys can get that if you need. Let's go ahead and get into some of these bass sounds. We have a simple drum pattern here. You can hear it's just kick, clap. Sometimes we have the kick going fast in some sections. All of our basses sound like this. You see some of these basses here adding some extra groove. That's always a good time. Then we have the sussy come in right here. Alrighty. Main bass leads, 2 layers. We have a main layer, which sounds like this. Then we have another resample layer. And this one's going to act as a higher frequency layer. It's pitched +7 semitones, which is a 5th up in the scale. We are riding in a D sharp. So our main bass is playing a D sharp note, and then that other bass is a 5th above the D sharp note, which is in harmony. Adding some extra nice frequencies. If you look here on the main patch, we have a reverb, some 2 EQs that are cleaning up the frequencies, multiband dynamics, which is making it louder at 47% dry and wet, this easy clean rack with a camel crusher and an OTT to make it loud and fat. So this is a little tiny loud rack, multiband dynamics, 2 EQs, and then a reverb to finish off the signal flow. This sound is really incorporating the reverb filter, which is how we get that almost scratchy sound. And with these, when I resampled it, we had these turned up. So you can actually have one of your layers be wide, like this layer, and then your other layer be more mono focused. So you see the unison in one. It's helping us stay mono. We do have a little bit of hyper dimension, but it's being controlled with this LFO, and it's being activated in a unique way, which we'll get into. Without the reverb filter, it sounds like this. With it. So you'll see this does a lot. The cutoff's at 69 right now, naturally. But if we move it, you'll see there's different tones. You can randomly move it. Let's listen to the mix. You can listen to all these different basses just by moving the cutoff. Let's try another random spot. Super sick. So that was 42. Let's try 47. Then we can go back to 69, which we were at earlier. You see, the higher we go in the cutoff, we're actually like making it sound higher in pitch, which is amazing. You have so many different frequencies to work with, have fun with. And you can see on the resonance, we have it turned up to 32%. This LFO2 is our main LFO, and it's going to be going on the resonance up 18. Then LFO2 is going to be on 6 other things. So check it out here, oscillator B and oscillator A. Both levels are turned down, but this LFO2 is on both of the levels going all the way up. The shape that is playing for these knobs is going to be this little cool shape. This attack is really important. Moving this to the left and to the right makes a big difference in the sound, so pay attention to that. This is a nice sweet spot for it to have nice groove, a good attack there. And then the next hit is this, which is turned down a little bit, so it feels slightly different in the groove. If it was turned up, turned down. So you can add cool effects like that. Remember, this is affecting the volume here with the levels. And then with these, bend plus and minus, it's affecting like the tonality. So bend plus and minus is on oscillator B. It's at negative 52%, and we're turning up the LFO all the way. Bend plus is on oscillator A. That's turned to 0% all the way down, and then you have the LFO going up 40. And it's adding movement to these wavetables. You can visually see what they're doing right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the knobs accounted for. There's 2 more left. So we're going to go here to the compressor. Now we have it on the mix. Mix is turned all the way down. We add this LFO to the mix. It's going all the way up to 58. And keep in mind too, this LFO shape is not at 1/4 rate, it's at 1/2 rate. So we give it some time so we can make our own shapes on trigger. If it was on 1/4, it'd sound like this. Which you might want in a different phrase, but for now we need to keep our quarter note rhythm. We have 2 different ones on purpose so that we can have 2 unique shapes rather than the same static shape, and it adds more groove that way. And then lastly, we have this EQ8, this regular EQ, scrubbing through the frequencies. So the notch is turned on right here, frequency set to 1559, and the LFO is slightly moving the frequency up 6. So you can visually see what it's doing here. Like moving to the right a little bit, just adding some extra movement. Gain is up to 19, Q is up 30% on the right side. Then the gain on the left side is negative 9.3. We have shelf turned on. The frequency is at 144 hertz and the Q is at 60%. And then the distortion drive, 72%. Mixes all the way up. The compressor gain is at 13 decibels. So we're pumping it pretty high, and we're turning down the threshold to -5. So we're compressing it pretty heavily, but we keep control of the compressor by using this LFO. It's turned all the way down, so it's only getting compressed up to 58 every time it plays. So it like controls it better rather than. So just keeping control of the sound, really important. Hyper dimension, we have this only used for the dimension section. Hyper is not turned on. Mix is all the way down on dimension, but we have this LFO3 on the mix going up 32. And you can see the shape here we made for LFO3. It's on 1/2 rate. So basically it's going to be turned up for the first hit and turned halfway down for the second. So each one will have like a different stereo image. So basically it's going to be wider for this first one and then more mono for this one. So it's basically going, so 2 hits in the stereo, 2 hits in the mono. We're just adding extra movement as time progresses. This last LFO is LFO1. This one's doing important movement to make this rhythm sound. So look at this. LFO1 is on phase. This is something I learned from the ominous patches that we got from Avant. He would automate his phase like this. 117 degrees is where we start at. The LFO is going up 21. And we add this really big delay. It works when we actually have voices like here. So if we have it off, then you turn it on. Now, originally, when I had the patch, I first had voices on, and then I resampled it with the voices. And then after it was resampled, I moved it back to 1 so that this one can basically stay more mono. So that phase automation is basically printed into the audio sample below here. Nice. This one's turned down -5 as well for this resampled version. And we're EQing it a little bit more heavily. This one's at 245. We're cutting a lot of the mud out, cutting the lows so it doesn't play. We don't want those to compete with the original. Plus, we're adding this multiband dynamics to make it even a little bit louder. And give it some compression. Those are the LFOs, those are the effects. Look at the basic shapes, analog, basic shapes. Wavetable positions on 5, we have this square. And then we just have the default initial sine wave there. LFO 3 is actually on the coarse pitch as well. It's going up a little bit. So the pitch is slightly changing over time. If you turn this up, you can hear it more dramatically. So we're just making it like slightly change. Cool. Now it's important that we have both of these layers. If it was just one layer, it wouldn't hit the same. You know, we can bring it back, add some voices, you know. This is how it would be originally. But instead, we have 2 different signals playing. So 1 mono and then 1 wide so that we can have it get louder and sound fuller. Just easy layering, you know what I'm saying? Easy layering. Okay, so now I want to just basically go over all of the song arrangement here and how he gets this flow, so you guys can see and learn from the techniques here.
Lizards.
Cool. So we have 2 sections. This is a 8 bar in length. This is the first 8 bar phrase of his drop. Halfway through the 8 bar phrase, so 4 bars in, we switch it up. And that is really key because if we just played the main bass for the full 8 bars, it would sound repetitive. It wouldn't have as much movement. This is great. Also, with our quarter note bass, this is the first 4 bars, so you know, it's a quarter note. This is the usual timing of the dubstep basses, but we're adding some rhythmic extra basses on these timings. Almost like dotted triplets, almost like off time, but still on time. Very awesome. And then we have the sustain, just like supporting in the back, really high frequency sustain. And that complements the mid frequency basses. Underneath, we have the sub playing quarter note. So even though you see this, we have it, the LFO's playing quarter note, but I have these little spaces to create extra groove, just so it doesn't sound like they're like one sustained sub. Just adding an extra groove like that. This is the Dripment Sisto sub if you want to watch the video on that. Very, very good sub. So we have kind of a fake out here. As soon as the fake out is over, then we have some extra basses to start changing the groove. And then extra supporting sustains. Then we go straight into the sustain, and the sub changes from quarter note to long sub. So it's like sustain now. So we're going back and forth between like fast sub to long sub. You see the kick start to speed up in this section too. Then at the end of the phrase, we just have some like lasers, some gunshots going at a fast 16th note pattern, just to, you know, basically add some cool fast movement at the end of the phrase, and then it would lead into the next 8 bars, which is important. That's how we get down. That's how we do it. I hope you guys learned how to make some dope basses using the reverb filter. This is how we get down. A lot of your favorite sounds are made using this filter. You know, that's what I've been learning. So get to it. Remake the tracks that you like. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and DM me if you need help with anything. I can help you with lessons if you need it. Have a great day. Stay fresh, and peace out.